everyone, welcome to the final part of this video from Daydreams, of this video series, from Daydreams by Hanna Karlzon. We have this little cute bunch of mushrooms or toadstools left to do. I was going to do them blue, but because everything else is browny, orangey red, I've changed my mind and we're going to do it in that sort of colour. Let me just slightly move the book, it's got a little bit caught in my desk. There we go. So we're going to start with the underside of these mushrooms, these sort of gill bits. Now I usually do them in a dark brown, as you've seen from the first and second videos, but I did look some up in between videos at one point, I can't quite remember when, and I saw some that were orange, so I decided that's what I'm going to do, just so it's a little bit different. So I'm just sharpening one of my Polychromos. This is the Cadmium orange, and I'm going to start by doing a layer of orange on all of them, not too hard, because I'm going to use another colour as well afterwards, but I want a sort of base of orange. So if you press too hard at this point, I'm just going to move the piece of paper that's behind the page, there we go. If you press too hard at this point, you can't add any more colour. So I'm just putting enough layers down so that I can't see masses of white paper underneath, but I'm not pushing so hard that I'm burnishing it right into the paper. And you might say, well, how can I tell? Well, it's not easy to tell, but it's something that you just sort of get to understand the more you practice and the more you colour, and it will differ from book to book. So if you've got a very thin, smooth paper, you might only get one layer in it. If you've got a book that has thicker paper that's really rough to the touch, then you will get more layers in. So as I say, it can depend from book to book, and also if your pencil is really sharp, mine isn't massively sharp, it's a little bit sharp, then it can push down into the paper more colour, and then that will give you less layers. So it is an advantage to sharpen the pencil if you want to get into teeny tiny areas, if you want to put more colour down and make it more vibrant. But if you want to layer up your colour, then you need to be careful that you don't push down too hard. So it's all a bit of a balancing act, really. And I think it's something that I've just learned through practice rather than teaching, if you know what I mean. I know how hard I can press on this paper to get the thickness of layer that I want. And that's something that you may not know, because perhaps you haven't coloured in your book as often, or you just haven't coloured as much as me. I have been colouring since 2013, and most days in that time. Can you imagine? It's a lot of practice. So that's why I am maybe a little bit better at telling how to do this than others. However, I still don't feel that I'm anywhere near expert level. You know, I feel like there are people that are far better than I, and I'm still learning, and that doesn't, I'm not trying to put myself down. This is burnt sienna. I'm just being realistic that I haven't been formally trained. This dark line here, I'm going to move in towards the stem, go over this dark line here, and then gently move in towards the stem, trying to fade as I go. So yes, so I feel that probably, I don't think that there is any artist out there that hasn't got things they could learn, or they couldn't get better through practice. You know, I think if you look at some of the I don't know what you call them, artists from years ago, that I'm going to sneeze, I guess I mean the greats, you know, really famous artists whose works are worth millions, and you know, that sort of thing. If you compare work from the beginning of their career towards the end, you can see a progression, and that is due to their practice, learning, their confidence and things like that. Some artists completely change their style, and some just become a little bit neater, or there are certain things that they can do better in the sense of perhaps making something look a little bit more realistic, that sort of thing. I mean, whether you think they're better or not is obviously always going to be a matter of personal opinion. This is the thing with art. There's not an exact science. There's not a right and a wrong way. There isn't a way in sort of certain circumstances. But really, when you're doing your own pieces in your own colouring book, it's up to you. You know, if you want to colour this mushroom blue, green, yellow, black, there's no right or wrong. Hanna hasn't said this is a chestnut mushroom and has to be coloured in X colour. You know, she's drawn it so that you can use your imagination. You can use it to practice different colour combinations, or just enjoy the page for what it is and just colour each one in, which is what I'm doing. You know, there are books where people have labelled the items so you know what they are. So you can, like if it's a plant, if you're in Maria Trolle's book, she tends to tell you what plants they are, or Layla Dooley does the same thing. But that still doesn't mean that there is a right and a wrong, because certain plants can come in a variety of colours, or you can just ignore that and do it your own way. I tend to, in Maria's books, I tend to just colour it the way I want to colour it. I find it in Maria's books it's quite difficult to look up what's what because the pages aren't numbered, and so I find it really hard to add, you know, look at what the plants are and that sort of thing. So I tend to not bother because I just can't be bothered, and it means that I can do it the colour I'm in the mood for doing it. And some of them are recognisable anyway, and some of them not so much so, but it means that you can just do what you want. Sometimes I think it can be good to look things up if you are stuck. So you might look at a page and think, I just don't know what colour to do that. But if you look up the plants and it says this is a hollyhock and this is a daisy and this is a meadow blur, whatever it might be, then you can look those up and think, well, those come in that colour, those come in that colour. I think the thing that put me off most about doing that in Maria's books in Layla Dooley's book, was so many of the plants were white, and I haven't really been practicing yet, despite promising I would, how to colour white flowers. So I tend to just pretend they're not, pretend there's something else. Like there was bindweed in her book, which is white. I've got some trying to grow it into my garden. But I just coloured it as a plant called Morning Glory, which has similar-ish shaped flowers, but it comes in purple. So I coloured it purple instead. So I did it wrong. But I enjoyed doing it wrong because it made it easier for me. Right, where are we at? I've got to try and make a decision as to what colour to do the caps of these and the stems. I think I'm going to use a little bit of this brown on the stem. I've been trying, as you know if you've been watching the whole series, to try and make the stems not look identical because they tend to always be grey, don't they? So I'm trying to mix it up a little bit and see what I can do to just make it a little bit more interesting. So I'm going to put brown on here. I'm actually going to do it like that. So I'm putting most at the top where the dots are, and then less coming down. The same on all of them, why not? I still haven't decided what colour to do the top of our mushrooms, but we'll get there eventually. So these I'm trying to just fade down. But you might think, oh, that's a bit brown. It is. It's going to have some grey pot on top of it. So, oops, the pencil doesn't want to behave. This is the Warm Grey 4. We use it a lot, don't we, on this page. And for this one, I'm going to use it more on the edge here to look like shadow Don't need to put quite as many layers down at the bottom than at the top, because the top's got quite a lot of thick brown there. Now, and we'll do the same on this side as well. Yeah, that looks a little bit different. I do feel like I want a bit more grey on there, but I'll do it in a lighter colour. Goodness, today it felt like every car was misbehaving. So we went into car park, and there was a car, there were spaces like one here and one here, like one behind the other, so you drove into this one or into this one. So we were reversing into this space, and a car drove into this one and started shunting like this and beeped his horn, and basically he wanted to drive straight through here, and we were reversing in, and he just kept doing it, so we had to move out of the way, and he just aggressively drove off. We're like, okay, but you could have just reversed out the space you were in, but no, you had to push us out. So I was like, okay. So my husband had to manoeuvre and get into a teeny tiny space, which he just about got into. Anyway, managed that. Then we left the car park, and the car park has a one-way system. As we left, two people went the wrong way round the car park, and it was busy. You know, if it's quiet, you can just get away with quick scooting round, can't you, round the wrong way? But it was really busy. So I was like, what are people doing? And then we were on foot then. Oh, my pencils are in the wrong order. Excuse me, I'm just going to fiddle around with them a little bit. Okay. And then we were on foot and we were walking. And there was we get to a mini roundabout, and someone just goes straight over it without stopping. Horns are beeping. I'm like, goodness me. Get to a crossing, and car just drove right over when it was pedestrian, you know, green for pedestrians, red for them, just drove straight over, didn't even seem to notice there was a crossing there. And we were crossing. I was like, for goodness sake. So that was fun. We were alert and aware by the time we'd got to this point. And then as we left the car park later, once we'd done our shop, I've decided to use this grey for the circles. We haven't done grey for those before, and I just fancy doing something a bit different. Yeah, once we were trying to pull out of the car park onto the mini roundabout, more cars just shooting straight over without looking. So, okay. And then we went off to the appointment that we had later, well, my husband had, and there was like traffic on. There were traffic lights, and it wasn't, this time it was the people. We were on the traffic lights. I'm trying to think of a colour. I'm going to go for a dark brown. I have decided, I don't know, we've used this, the burnt umber for our mushroom tops. Be a bit different, won't it? I'm just going to sharpen it, it's too blunt. And loads of pedestrian crossings, traffic lights, this sort of thing. And you're waiting, and the people have pressed the button to cross the road, and they're just walking straight out, and they don't take any notice of the fact that there are cars, the lights are about to change, cars are about to run over, or that we're approaching and we have to stop even though we shouldn't be stopping because it's our green light, and they're just walking out. It's like, oh my goodness, people, what are you doing today? It was like, we're just glad to get home. Unfortunately, on our way to the appointment, we saw a mobile speed camera, and husband said he was doing about 1 mile an hour over the speed limit as he came up towards it. So he's a bit worried now that he's going to get a speeding ticket. But we'll see what happens. They might be lenient, or his speedometer might have been slightly out. So we'll see. Let's just hope if it was out in the correct direction. But we'll see. He was a bit annoyed about that, but of course, you know, they're there to do a job. He was a bit more wary on the way back, but they're gone by then. They tend to move around quite a bit. But the area did say there were speed cameras signs around the area. You know, it wasn't like we it, you know, that little blip there needs some colour. I'm going to use the orange, cadmium orange, just there. There we go. Now that's very different, isn't it? I think that's really interesting. It's a bit different. Got our lighter gills, darker top. I like it. It's, yeah. So let's see the whole page, shall we? That one didn't take very long, did it? Oh, it did, or did I stop it and sneeze? I can't remember. Anyway, let's take the paper out so you can see the page against the desk like that. I always think it's a bit better than having that sort of white paper in there. There we go. So there is our page of various mushrooms and toadstools. I hope that was fun. I wasn't really sure what to record, and I just really like doing mushrooms, and I was flicking through Hannah's books thinking I haven't done anything of Hannah's for a while, and just thought that one might be fun. So I hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and happy colouring.